This is your economic review this morning. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiaga. Let me first introduce the panel that is joining us this morning. All right, let me introduce and say good morning to Alice ANANGI, who's a crypto trainer and founder ZEDEN Technologies. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Simba. How have you been?
We've been great. Happy to finally see you. We're also joined by David GITONGA, who's the managing editor, Bitcoin KE. David, good morning, sir. Happy to have you around. All right, we're joined also by Tommy RANDALL, who's a policy analyst. Tommy, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Happy to have you around. Let's begin with Alice and David this morning on that story for Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin investors watched as the price of Bitcoin crashed once again over the weekend, leading a market-wide nosedive that showed no signs of slowing down at the start of the week. Now, the market saw nearly $200 billion wiped off the cryptocurrency market, while Sunday, which saw a further $200 billion in losses over the last 7 days. Now, Bitcoin was back below the $33K mark at the start of the week for the first time since early June, though it still remains way up when looking at that data year on year. Now, charts for 2021. Now, this latest drop has led to fears that more losses could be on the way, as a pattern known as the death cross has been reached. This is where a 50-day moving price average falls below the 200-day moving average, potentially signaling the arrival of a bear market. Good. Just before we start this morning, let's look at that data that we have for you and exactly how Bitcoin has been developing. Now, that's Bitcoin volume, and we do have that all the way to 21st of June, and you can see that indeed, even as we talk about the crash or the lower volumes in terms of the lower price in terms of a Bitcoin, we are talking about what is considered across the board. If you look at that volume, something that is a bit higher if you consider that year on year. Great. All right, let's move on to the value as well this morning and look at exactly where they are. That price trend is where the conversation point is, that indeed we are on a dip, and you can look at that all the way from 17 June to where we are right now. There has been that dip that has been experienced and continues to be experienced, as we have seen across from the weekend up to where we are now. Well, ladies first, Alice. So we spoke, I mean, even at the beginning of this year we spoke, we were sort of looking at a higher price point for Bitcoin. How do you synthesize whatever is going on right now? Yes, Alice, can you confirm you can get me?
I think there was a bit of an issue with the connectivity. I can get you now.
You can get me now. So let me just reiterate that question, Alice. Yes. How do we explain what is going on right now when we started the year at Bitcoin promising to be the biggest thing in terms of the financial markets to be seen this year, despite the coronavirus pandemic?
Well, we can look at it this way, yeah.
Yes.
We did expect, as analysts, actually, we did expect a drawdown, yeah, in as far as BTC is concerned, yeah.
Yes.
When you do have a rising market, yeah, an exponentially rising market, it's very, very unhealthy, actually, in the market. So seasons of bulls, and we do have seasons of bears, and every time there's a bearish season, it's actually an opportunity for even big investors to come in. People who missed out on the bull market now have a very good opportunity to come in and join into the space. Yeah.
Yes.
So we did experience the death cross. yeah, as anticipated. Yeah, we were expecting it, and we did experience it about two days ago. But what people don't know is historically, actually, when every time Bitcoin experienced the death cross, we did experience about a 40% rise upwards, yeah, before now completing the full bear cycle. Yeah.
Yes.
So there's that we are still anticipating a bit of a staircase climb, which is, slightly going to stabilize the market, but eventually we do expect a completion of the bear cycle. So at this point, it will be an opportunity for anyone and everyone who would want to come into the market to join in at that particular point.
Yes. I'll be coming back to you on that, Alice. Let me cross over to David this morning. Dave, good morning. And how do you, by yourself, Dave, synthesize whatever is happening on the Bitcoin?
Yes, it's true. And as Alice says, we are seeing, so the Bitcoin did perform a death cross. But again, as much as death crosses usually signal a bear market,
yes,
they could also signal just corrections, market corrections that happen all the time.
Yes.
So in this case, we have seen, corrections. I think yesterday Bitcoin went below 30,000. Today it's about 34,000. So it could just be a mere correction. But again, this is also a great opportunity. Like Alice says, it's a great opportunity for long-term investors to increase their positions.
Yes.
So looking at it from that aspect, it's really a great opportunity for you to accumulate if you are looking at increasing your positions.
Yes, David, just before I cross over to Alice, is it good for me to ask you that even as we're talking about a correction, do you expect that sort of a correction? It looks as if it's a sort of a seesaw correction where nobody knows exactly what's going on, because if it's a correction, then Dave, you will say, well, we've come down by just a couple points in terms of that value, and we expect to continue. But it hasn't happened the same for Bitcoin. I mean, we're talking about a death cross point, Dave, this morning. Would you still call that a correction?
You're right. Yes. We are really not sure what's going to happen. Some analysts are saying Bitcoin could go below 20,000 as well. I mean, usually a death cross is usually not a good sign for bulls. It usually signals tough market conditions. Sometimes it tends to be quite dramatic. The 2017-2018 death cross resulted in about 60% drop in Bitcoin price.
Yes.
Last year, March 2020, we saw another death cross that resulted in a huge price drawdown. So we are not ruling out the possibility that Bitcoin could go down further, but also it could also be just a mere correction. So we just have to wait and anticipate and hope that it's not a massive drawdown like we've seen previously.
Pretty much. Now, Alice, let me come in on that as well, and then look at some of the factors that we've seen sort of contribute to this value drop of Bitcoin. I mean, you see exactly what is happening in China. They actually do not want Bitcoin to prosper in the economy. We saw exactly what happened with Tesla. The turnaround that they had in terms of using Bitcoin as a currency for purchasing their services and their assets as well. Could you say that, yes, Alice, despite us saying that there's a market correction, that indeed there are factors behind it that are contributing heavily to whatever is happening in that market right now?
Well, most certainly, yes, yeah, because when we look at how the price started correcting, yeah, which is sometime earlier last month, yeah,
yes,
we had the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that was caused by Tesla, yeah, saying that they will not be accepting any payments any Bitcoin payments because of citing energy concern issues. And after that, we had the crackdown by China on the mining farms, yeah?
Yes.
Citing the same issues. But even despite all that, yeah, we still have a bit of positivity with a state like El Salvador, yeah? Mentioning that they're actually they have a solution to the mining problem, which is the geothermal energy, yeah? And then we also have the state stepping in. We have Texas, we have Florida. So mining firms are actually moving to that side to use nuclear energy solutions. Yeah. So as much as we are facing these challenges, we have ways of countering those challenges. So that's why, from my point of view and my opinion, it's actually a correction, because as we are coming down, we are having now forces that are also pushing the price back upwards. Yeah?
Yes.
And as David has said that, we experienced the death cross last year in March, and it was a bare moment. Yeah, but we know what happened last year in March with COVID, and all that happening. It was a lot of negative news. But what happened immediately after that? We had now IMF and we had World Health Organization recommending digital transactions to happen, digital money transfer transactions to happen more than fiat. So everyone jumped into the digital asset space, yeah, and that pushed the price back up. So as much as we're experiencing a downfall right now, we have forces that are countering it, and as analysts, there's a level we anticipate the price to get to, yeah, and from there now we expect another huge leg up.
Pretty much. Now, Alice, just before I bring in Dave this morning, are we in a point where in 2021 there seemed to be a direction for Bitcoin at the beginning of the year, Alice, and majority of that direction was really sort of, I would say, buoyed by the fact that a lot of corporates and bigger multinationals seem to be backing Bitcoin, but their silence right now, Alice, is what is causing these jitters in the market.
Actually, they're not silent. We have the likes like MicroStrategy.
Yes.
They have really huge Bitcoin holdings, and
yes.
they know exactly why they have huge Bitcoin holdings. Yeah. So there's a reason as to why they're holding on to it. No one said hodling is going to be easy. Yeah.
Yes.
But definitely hodling is beneficial in the long term. Yes.
Pretty much. I'll be coming back to you, Alice, on that. Dave, some analysts are saying, well, I mean, with whatever is going on in the market right now, Bitcoin might get back to the 20K. Remember, that's where we were towards the end of last year. Do you think that from people are looking at that trend and reading those headlines and saying, well, it might get back to 20K, do you think they'll get back on it, or we're going to see sort of reduced volumes? Because they are reduced right now. It's only that we're looking at them on year. But if you look at where we're in 2021, some people are really holding back from getting into that market. If indeed that trend is going to continue for us to get back to the 20K, are we going to see the lowest volumes yet by half year as we start this half year?
So yeah, so there's quite a lot playing out right now. Like Ali says, the Bitcoin crackdown in China,
yes.
which accounts for about 65% of the entire mining power. We call it hash rate.
Yes.
So 65% is out of China. So of course that is affecting the market hugely. We're also seeing a crackdown in countries like Iran. Iran accounts for 0.5% of the entire Bitcoin mining power. So together they make up about 70% of the hash power. And these jurisdictions are the ones that are, pushing for regulatory crackdown on Bitcoin. So yes, there's a real possibility that we could go down, realistically speaking. But at the same time, we're also seeing another shift towards North America. So their mining power is shifting in North America. So recently we have companies like Bitfarms being listed on NASDAQ. We have an upcoming one called Hat8. So these companies are sort of shifting this power from China, Southeast Asia to North America, which we tend to believe have a bit more stable regulatory frameworks around digital currencies.
Pretty much.
There's a bit of a twist there. So for the next few weeks, we could see a drawdown, yes, as this power moves to North America. But in the long run, I'm pretty positive that the price is only going to go up. So again, like Ali says, it's a great opportunity to sort of hold long-term positions if you're looking at this long-term.
Pretty much. Now, Alice, clear for us this conversation this morning. I mean, you're saying that right now is the best time for somebody to get in, because then you do expect that once you get to the death cross, then there's another big jump coming. Alice, is that for somebody who really has studied this market long enough? But is that going to be a bigger risk than opting out and waiting for it to come back?
So what we normally do is use a strategy known as dollar cost averaging. It's actually one of the strategies that are being used by the huge hedge funds out there. Yeah.
Yes.
So what happens is as we have the price coming back down, yeah, you can buy in batches, yeah, just distributing your risk. Yeah. So right now, as analysts, we are expecting a drop to the 20K level. Yeah.
Yes.
David has mentioned it. I'm also mentioning it. We are expecting a pullback after this death cross. We are going to expect we will anticipate a small staircase climb to the 36, maybe 40K level, and then now we have another final drop down to the 20K level. That would be the best time. Yeah. If maybe you're new to this, you want to step in, that would be the best time. But if you're a long-term hodler, yeah, which is what the huge hedge funds are doing, they are accumulating more. From when we started dropping off from 30,000, they've been accumulating. They'll continue accumulating using the DCA strategy. And now as we experience the huge leg up, now, of course, your average price becomes a bit stable, yeah, in
Yes.
as far as when you look at the returns, yeah. So just buy in batches. As we move to the drawdown, buy in batches, and then in the long term, it's going to be very beneficial if you're holding long positions.
Pretty much. Alice, Dave, thank you very much for taking your time to speak to us this morning on exactly what is going on in that Bitcoin market. We really do appreciate it every time you come on.
Always great, Simba.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the next one. And we're going to cross over to Tommy RANDALL this morning, where coffee farmers now want the government to suspend the capital markets coffee exchange regulations of 2020 until systems are put in place to allow seamless coffee trading. According to the Kenya Coffee Producers Association, the authority lacks expertise in the coffee business and they will not do justice to the coffee farmer. In addition, the farmers want more representation in the proposed coffee board to allow them to safeguard their interests. Speaking to the media Monday, Peter Gitonga, the chairman of the association, said while farmers are not opposed to the two bills, they want them harmonized to eliminate the gaps and confusion in the coffee subsector. The National Assembly Coffee Bill of 2021 was sponsored by Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya, while the Senate version was sponsored by Senate Committee on Agriculture Chairman Senator Jeru Duiga. Pretty much. Just as we get ready, let's look at exactly where we are in terms of coffee performance. Yes, and we're looking at exports. Let's look at exactly where we are, and you can actually see in terms of volume of tons and value as all the way from January 2019 to May 2020. And in terms of volume, you can actually say that, well, it's been a hot and cool environment, especially when it comes to that as well. Let's cross over again to the value again, which is just a big corresponding area, especially when talking about volume. And that's exactly where we are. Also very hot and cold. Look at January 2020. That's when we had it at the lowest, but now it looks as if we are on the way up. That's according to May 2020. That's the data that we have for you this morning, and we're looking at it in terms of millions. So you're talking about billions from that end. Good. All right. Now, let's cross over to Tommy RANDALL this morning. Now, Tommy, what are the existing gaps in the coffee bill of 2020, according to you, especially when you look at exactly what farmers are saying this morning?
There are many. I actually made a list.
Yes.
Farmers' representation in key institutions such as the Coffee Board of Kenya and Coffee Research Foundation. So there needs to be a way for farmers to be on those institutions so they can advocate for their best interest. And also there are unrealistic operating costs to run coffee process. Also, there needs to be a direct payment system where farmers are paid directly. and also dual regulation, dual registration of millers as marketing agents. That needs to be resolved too. And the last one I could find was a no sound procedure to appointment of millers.
Yes.
So they need to clarify how millers will be appointed.
Yes. And when you, Tommy, when you look at those factors that you mentioned there, how integral are they just to the performance of the coffee industry in the country? Because the only reason that we came up with these regulations was just to make them seamless, in a sense of give the farmer what they deserve.
Actually, I failed to mention one more, which is very important.
Yes.
There's a requirement by the Capital Markets Authority that marketers be licensed through the CMA. And that's causing a lot of problems because in the bill, it doesn't mention that. So there's a battle between the executive and the regulatory authority of whether this should be the case or not.
Yes.
The bill is still in a public participation phase. It hasn't passed yet, but once it's signed into law, which will take some time, this should solve that problem.
Yes. So let's look at that one. That essentially, when having a way in which farmers can directly get paid. Why? I mean, we did get into this because of that. What do you think is the setback on that? Why did they not introduce that?
That's why it's in the public participation stage.
Yes.
I mean stage.
Yes.
This is why, so that we can raise issues like this. This is very important because where the coffee farmers are losing money is having to go through so many middlemen to get paid.
Yes.
Yes. So this direct payment system that has been suggested might be added into the bill to resolve this situation and get farmers paid, because it affects our production. Farmers work so hard to raise their coffee and then lose a lot of money. It makes it not worth it for them to farm coffee.
Pretty much. This morning, I just want us to listen to this bites by Peter GITONGA, who's the chairman at KCPA, and then after that we come and talk about it this morning as well.
In as far as the two bills are concerned, we are not quarreling either of the two bills. All what we are saying, there are issues that are in the two bills that we have been able to submit our memorandum to both houses. There are issues that can help farmers that are in the two bills, but we need some harmonization. Like now we are asking, who will bear the cost of the DSS, if there is any? Who is this DSS? Should there be an issue? What is the recourse? So all these things needed to be addressed so that then we are very sure that when we start trading, the money will move from the buyer to the seller, and all the stakeholders who have participated and provided services, they will be able to get their monies in a good time. And we are saying, other than just presenting the same document, we are more than willing and ready to have a sitting or to have a session with the both houses, explain ourselves to them, to be able to help them to understand. Probably maybe what has been written does not share a universal understanding, but probably when we are able to have a discussion, we will be able to enlighten them and bring them to the same understanding with the farmers. The other issue, we are not saying that we are not happy with the capital market exchange regulating coffee. Or what we are saying, with the experience that we had with them the last year, that is 2020, they seem not to have been prepared, not to even understand the coffee business, and comparing the coffee business with the shares that are normally traded. So we are saying the expert in coffee should be left to handle the matters of coffee, and the person who are expert in that is a coffee board, the one that is now to be introduced.
Pretty much, that is Peter GITONGA, chairman at KCPA, who's saying that they are not opposed to these regulations. They're saying, well, we actually welcome them. But then you can hear that, Randall, they're saying, well, they're even actually questioning the composition of CMA. They're saying, well, you are a markets body, but when it comes to introducing that market under coffee, then that's where then we need to talk about that, have a proper representation from the farmers themselves. Do you agree, Tommy, that indeed that's the way it needs to go?
I do agree, and the coffee bill, it comes up with a body that keeps the CMA out of the coffee industry as it should be.
Yes.
CMA should be regulating money markets and things of that nature. They have no business in the coffee business.
Yes. Pretty much. And they're also saying...
But also another thing is...
yes, Tommy.
There's also a procedure. Since the Senate and the National Assembly have a competing bill, there's a way that they come together and things are resolved so that they're harmonized. We have not gotten to that point yet.
Yes.
So I'm confident that in the next few months, these issues will be resolved by the National Assembly and the Senate.
Pretty much. How much importance do you lay to his comment about costs that may accrue within realigning these regulations, or should that regulation pass, costs should be at the forefront? Tommy, do you agree? Because then we want that the farmers would get something out of them being on a CMA.
Yes, we do not want duplication of services because that will raise costs,
yes,
and that will diminish the amount of money that farmers get.
Yes.
And once again, if there is no incentive for farmers to farm coffee, then what's the point? So they should do as much as possible to reduce cost as much as possible so the farmer can get the maximum profit possible.
Pretty much. Tommy, this is the last question that I have for you on this particular subject this morning as we come to the end of the show. I mean, you do know where we were when it came to coffee business and this specific industry here in this country. Do you believe genuinely that these regulations 2020 are going to be the starting point of us turning around this business within the country, or we're still a long way to go?
That is the intent of the lawmakers.
Yes.
But as always, we have bad actors. And the only way we can solve this is through dialogue. As like we are going through this public participation, the stakeholders need to participate and make sure their interests are represented in the final bill.
Pretty much. Tommy Randall,
yes,
thank you very much for taking your time this morning, sir, to speak to us. I'm unfortunate that that's the only time that we had this morning for us to go through the entire conversation, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And exactly, that's how we come to the end of Business I Am this morning. Thank you very much for also being a part and parcel of this broadcast. You can take us online at Metropole TV KE across all your social media platforms. Good morning.